see. When I angle it away, it's because of it doesn't matter. Anyway, this is as good as it's getting.
That's not the attitude to take. You should strive for excellence in your world.
Well, I like how you've assumed that as good as it's going to get isn't excellence. It's very telling, Stu. Yeah.
Problem on my part.
Speaking of problems, look at this fucking cunt of a thing. Where is she?
Okay, but if she starts making noise, you got to kick her out.
That's okay. That's not the bad one. Although
that's the good dog.
Well, okay, so to be clear, that's definitely the naughty dog. Yeah. But the other one's the noisy one. The other one's the old, farty, snory one. Hold on. She's left. I'm closing. I'm closing down the drawbridge.
She's got to disconnect dogs.
Oh, there we go. Okay. She's gone. She's gone.
This is Total Babble. Total Babble. The Total Babble Podcast, a weekly podcast about music, pop culture, social media, movies, the internet, relationships, TV, whatever. The Total Babble Podcast.
Oh, man, I've had so much caffeine and so much protein.
That sounds like a good way to go.
Yeah.
Whee!
Whee!
I'm nourished and energetic.
Although I have... I don't know if we started recording yet, but today's not sponsor in a really cute way is these Fairlife Protein Plan 30-gram protein drinks. They are delicious and they help me reach my protein goal. I'm on an eating plan, and so I have a high protein, low calorie goal.
Yeah.
And they don't taste like wet cardboard, contrary to the flavor profile of most other protein supplement beverages.
So they're good.
And snacks.
You like them?
Yes, I actually like them.
I thought they were a non-sponsor for a second. I was getting ready for a whole thing, and I was like, all right, let's go.
Oh, unfortunately, we're not a not sponsor. We need to come up with a goodness of our heart endorsement.
Yeah. Well, when they give us money, we'll do that.
Exactly. I'm just a fan of these. Yeah.
So I make no promises on today's show. I've had a very hectic morning. I haven't had a lot of time to do my pre-show prep, and I am working with this. Do you see how I just don't have any really good water? This is a bathroom cup, a small bathroom cup of water. I'm not going to be properly hydrated. I might have a dry throat. So we're just going to have to do what we're going to have to do. It's been that kind of morning. I'm doing other stuff, and I literally just sat down. But here we go. Show. You're full of protein and caffeine, so that's enough.
So it's
50% at least.
At least 50%. It's on like Donkey Kong. That cup that you held up raises lots of questions for me. First and foremost, who has a cup just hanging out in their bathroom? Does that bathroom cup just live in the bathroom? Does it live there?
It does. It's for when you need to take a vitamin or a pill or clear the dryness in your throat. It's a little plastic hotel cup stolen from a hotel, because that's the kind of white trash people we are. Got that going for us.
No, I like it. I like that you have a bathroom cup. If I went to my bathroom, all that would be in there in terms of cup would be those tiny little maximum of 20 milliliters that you use to dispense children's medicine. And so if I came back with a bathroom cup, it'd be 20 mils, like a little thimble of
like the little Dixie cup things?
Oh, smaller. Yeah.
Oh, nice. Well, you get what you need, I guess.
Honestly, like a little hat for Thumbelina. Just a tiny little thing, because one of my kids has been sick. So honestly, the cup that I would have bought would have been about this big. It could have been funny, but... Well,
I'm trying to, I guess, mitigate my water intake, because normally I'll go through a big jug. I've got to kind of space it out a little bit. So if you hear me getting logy, just know that I'm famished. And I'm trying to get through a show with very little water, and it's so hard. You know the sacrifice. We do what we can here on the show for the listener.
For the listener.
Yeah.
For the listener, I'm parched.
So I'll bring up this point as we start out. You and I have pretty good ground rules set, and we know where to go and where not to go and that kind of thing. And when you came on, we talked about stuff, and I kind of know what the limits are. At this point, I would like to publicly embarrass you. Is that okay? Do I have your permission to publicly embarrass you?
I mean, give it a red hot go.
Yeah. All right. Well, got an email from a friend from a long time ago that hasn't listened to the show in a long time for various reasons. And that email said, I'm in. Your co-host is hilarious. Already hot without even seeing her. Between her words, accent, and humor, I'm sold. So know that. And to make it even more special, that comes from a gay guy. So it means even more that they wrote that. Have that.
Well, you're right. You have found my kryptonite. I can't take compliments to save myself. I was hoping it would be something really disgraceful and, about my potty mouth or something like that. That is very nice. I will
just know that all those meetings that we've had where we've sat down and I've said to you, make sure you sound hot. Those are working. So that has all been fantastic.
That's amazing. I assume that my check is in the mail. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, I do appreciate that. And I love it when people write into the show.
They don't usually. People don't get involved. They just listen. It's like when I was in radio, you have your P1s, your P2s, your P3s. The P1s are the most involved, and they will call the station all the time. Oh, it was so cool. When I worked at the station I worked at, we had this mentally disabled guy named Junior that used to call, and he would call, and like we were his connection to the outside world. And when Junior would call, you would just make him happy because you'd go, hey, Junior, you'd go, hey, could you play Timmy T? And you go, yeah, I'll try to get it on. Oh, thanks. And then if you'd play it, he would just be the happiest guy in the world. And when that radio station ceased to be, I worry about what happened to Junior, but he was just the best, happiest guy. And I felt like we were one of the things keeping him going. And that's one of the cool memories I have. So
I really love that. And I know that we're podcasting, but I still do have a love for old school radio. When I started my very short-lived radio career, I worked in community broadcast, and it was always so nice when people would call up and make requests, and you get to have a little chat with the listeners, and you get to play local music. That was the other thing that I really loved, was getting to play local bands on the radio and being with some friends, like the first time their music ever played on the radio and that kind of stuff. Not everybody is lucky enough to have that experience, but that is something that I'll never forget. Those moments, being connected to people in that way is really quite special, I think.
Yeah, I like the idea of that, but unfortunately the idea of that isn't really around much anymore. Everything is so programmed and so processed, and a lot of times, I won't say always, but maybe almost always, when you're hearing somebody on the radio, they've voice tracked that show a week and a half ago, or maybe a week ago, and they just do the voice tracks, the breaks. So they record that entire show in the span of about 20 minutes, and probably shouldn't be passing this on, but whatever. And probably they're not even in your city. Probably they might be in LA, and even though they're in Tennessee, they're not really in Tennessee. And heaven help you if there's a natural disaster, because then that DJ is on the air sounding like an asshole, not talking about anything. So there's a lot of that, and I love the idea of what radio used to be. And there's still opportunity to get back to it, but it's not what's out there now. And I think, too, that's probably at least part of the reason why everybody is so focused on streaming now, because they can get the music they want to get programmed to them, and they don't have the BS behind it either. So,
Yeah, and it's an interesting conundrum because on one hand, I really like the idea of having something really tailored to me in this hyper-personalized experience, and all the music that I like, but none of the music that I don't is, what's not to love about it? But then on the other hand, by leaning into that, we're really robbing ourselves of the experience to do things like discover new artists, be reminded of music that we'd long forgotten that might take us back to a really great memory. And so sometimes I get sad about where we are now.
The jukebox aspect of radio is a big part of it. It's, oh, that song just came on and that sounds really great and I have no idea what that is. I need to find out. Or that song that I love from 5 years ago that I haven't heard in forever just came on. That part of it is really cool. And then if you throw in the person talking on the radio that you really like, that is what makes radio great. But we're not doing it better anymore. We're just doing it cheaper. And that's why the radio is languishing and, whatever. I should say better things.
It's hard, just sharing your true feelings, though.
Yeah. It's not like we as a world can't come back from it. We could do it better. It just means not doing it as cheap as possible. I'll say that.
That is definitely true. They're cutting corners and making compromise. You get what you get.
And it's not just radio that's doing that. It's everywhere you turn these days. They're cutting corners and making things shitty. So we have that in our world. Way to go, world.
Go, world. I mean, the world has a lot to answer for at the moment. Terrible things are happening in the world. And it's hard to
I have
stay
a new
focused.
money-making opportunity. I come up with those. My latest is, they have those baby on board signs. For some reason, those are making a big comeback. Those were really big in the 80s. Everybody had baby on board placards on their car. Mm-hmm. And I've seen a few more of them recently. And I want to sell so what stickers. And basically, it's like a baby on board sticker, but it says, so what? So that when you're walking around and you see someone with a baby on board sticker, right underneath it, you just slap a so what on their car. Because, how are you more important because you have a baby in there? I guess you should be able to cut me off and drive like an asshole because you have a baby in your car. Or drive like a meandering fool who I'm trying to get around when you have a baby in your car. Baby on board means nothing. It would be more impressive, I think, if you said, German Shepherd on board, Golden Retriever on board. Then I would almost be more with you because then it's more fun. Then I at least have something to look at as I drive by. Look at the happy dog with his head sticking out. German Shepherd on board, or even just happy dog on board. A new sign. So what signs and happy dog on board.
And happy dog on board.
Yeah.
I wonder why people get them. I mean, I know what the purpose of the baby on board sign is for. It's for emergency services.
Safe. Yeah.
Well, no, it's for emergency services to signal that if there's a baby in the car and there's an accident, that they know to look for a baby. If you're in an emergency, say if you end up in water or if you have an accident, it says baby on board, so they know to look for things like a car seat in case it's been ejected from the vehicle. And that
I thought you were going to say in case the baby was driving.
No, don't be an idiot.
It's not that.
We know, don't be an idiot. We know that only dogs drive cars, Stu.
Right. Oh, we've seen that.
Yeah, exactly. Only dogs drive cars, not babies.
To me, it just, again, seems so self-important, and I think maybe that's why it's come back, is because we've gotten so self-important in society, and of course we need that now so we can tell everybody, oh, I have a baby, and they're more important than you, and they're on board. I don't think...
They're on board with the agenda.
Yeah. I don't think most people think about it from the safety aspect. I think they think about it from the I'm important aspect,
Yeah, there's so many things, and this is my lead in. There's so many things, and meanwhile, my brain's going, is there so many things? Can you think of anything else other than one thing? Where people have their behavior is molded, and they've now got caught up in this thing that they do, like buying the baby on board stickers and everything, but they've lost touch with the why people started doing it in the beginning.
Right.
Sense. Here's another one. Carrying bouquets at a wedding, right? That's a tradition. Everybody does it. But you don't need to do it anymore because nobody stinks. So originally bouquets started because in medieval times you wouldn't bathe all the time. Right. And so you might pong a little bit. And so brides would carry a bouquet to mask their natural odor. But now we still carry bouquets, even though most of us shower on the regular, and Lord knows definitely on the day that we're going to get married. So there's so many different things that we do that we've lost touch with why we do them. Can you think of any other sort of weird shit like that we still do in modern times or in recent times, but people have forgotten why we did it?
Yeah, the baby on board signs that we have on cars a lot lately, that's what I come up with. I have nothing. I don't know. I've had a frantic morning. I can't think of things.
I can't brain. I've got the dumb.
There's just too much going on. So that's interesting. I had no idea that the bouquets of flowers way back when were originally somebody saying, hey, the bride has a stinky ass. We need to give her some flowers. That's pretty unique. We've learned here today on the Babble.
Yeah. Then there's lots and lots of them. But, we'll come back with some of these at another time, but there are a bunch of them, and for the life of me, I can't figure it out. I want to know where the whole candy on Halloween thing came from. Surely, what's with that?
Isn't it because it was some kind of pagan holiday and kids were going to egg and toilet paper your house, so we bribed them with treats to not do it? I believe that's what it is. I think that's what it comes down to. Pretty sure that's the deal.
Pretty sure
this has been history with Stu. Pretty sure. It's my history lesson. Pretty sure, I think. I also feel like leprechauns have gotten away with it long enough. I've had enough of their shit.
Thank God somebody had to say it. It's been long overdue. So now that it is leprechaun hunting season, how many scalps do you have, Stu?
I don't have any, but we're going to have to start because I've had enough of their bullshit. The leprechauns.
Yeah, give it to them.
They've had a free pass for too long because I'm talking about the pot at the end of the rainbow.
Oh, elusive.
The rainbow, the cultural appropriation from the gay people that the leprechauns have been doing all these years, and nobody's pointed it out. Nobody is going after the leprechauns for stealing the rainbow from the gay people. They get a free pass because of their fashion sense. I don't feel like that is appropriate. I feel like now we need to cancel leprechauns. That needs to be the next step in our society because of the rainbow. Pretty sure.
I feel like the leprechauns had it first. Is this a turf war? Because if it is, I really think that the leprechauns had it first. I mean, even the gays are going to side with me on this. Surely. Buckle shoes and all. Fuck those leprechauns, you think, but...
I would pay nearly anything to watch a gay leprechaun street battle. That would be fantastic and the best thing ever.
I want to see it.
Because you don't know who would win.
Well, I don't know. If we're doing sort of ballroom style, I really think I'd love to see a few leprechauns with their buckled shoes doing some death drops. Just gonna put it right out there.
I'd pay
ballroom,
to see that. What's ballroom? Ballroom battle? Ballroom blitz?
It's
ballroom blitz.
Yeah, it's a style of dancing. I'll have to send you a video, but not traditional ballroom, as in ballroom dance sport, foxtrot, waltz, that kind of thing. But it's a style of underground dancing.
All right. So you had that other thing, that some story, are you the asshole kind of story that you mentioned right before we went on. What's the deal with that? We need to determine if you're an asshole.
Oh, I mean, so many fucking things. But this thing, this is the latest. Okay.
Right.
We're having a party here for my son's birthday on Friday night. My other son has been sick all week. So he had the day off school yesterday. He doesn't have a fever. Okay, it's not that kind of sick. But he has flu-like symptoms. And he started with a sore throat. Then he got a cough. He's still got a cough, runny nose, all that jazz. He felt much better today. I sent him back to school. He doesn't have a fever. Okay? Putting that out there. Yesterday, I gave him a COVID test.
Oh, no.
Okay.
I was going to ask.
Okay. Gave him a COVID test. Negative. However, I left it out and it dried. And now it reads positive. it's not positive in terms of color, but it's dried and there's a line and it says, I went back to the instructions and the instructions very clearly say, do not read after 30 minutes. And it's been probably like 12 hours. And so I'm like, well, this can't be right. This is not right. And so then logical, non-asshole me is like, we should test him again today just to make sure. But then asshole me is like, I wouldn't do that because then you can't have the kids' party on Friday because you'll have a kid that's got COVID. Maybe you just don't want to know, so you don't have to tell people. And so this is my internal monologue right now. Do I test my little potential COVID kitty? Nobody else is sick, by the way. But that's where I am right now. I haven't made a decision yet, but I'm probably going to test him because I want to do the right thing. But I have definitely had a moment where I'm like, don't test him because the rules here, even if you've got COVID, if you're fever free, you're allowed to go back to school in this state, even if you've got COVID and you don't even have to wear a mask.
That's insane.
I know, isn't it nuts?
What the hell?
We've all had it so many times. Nobody wears masks here anymore.
Yeah, I can't be around people like that. I took my mom for dental work yesterday, and the guy was yelling at her not to wear a mask, I found out, and I'm ready to go back to that place and lay into that guy. You should wear a mask, even if just for the fact that you don't want to get the flu, assholes. But anyway, you know what you have to do. You have to check it because even though everybody's had it, you don't know the complete health history of all the kids. What if one of them is weak in some area and you don't test and then that kid gets it and then it's a whole thing, you know?
Yeah, I'm going to test.
They die. You don't want to kill a kid, do you? Probably not.
But for example, not a single teacher wears a mask. Nobody wears a mask.
Oh, my God.
Nobody wears a mask here. People who work at stores don't wear masks. Nobody wears masks. But yeah, of course, if he tests positive, then I would tell people.
I just don't understand the huge aversion to doing that because it's not like it's a big inconvenience having a piece of cloth across your face. And even if we get past the COVID part of it, there's all kinds of other stuff out there that you can get. And you don't want to get sick generally. That's my thing. I just don't want to get sick, whatever it is. Would rather not have the flu, you know? Just do it. Who cares?
Well, yeah, the wearing of masks isn't such a weird thing for people who grow up in Australia. We have a large Asian contingent, and it is very normal culturally, particularly for people from Asia, to wear a mask if they are unwell, if they have an upper respiratory virus of any description, that they would wear a mask because it stops the particles flying everywhere and it reduces the chance that you'll infect somebody else. And so definitely if you're feeling under the weather or unwell or anything, it's not weird to wear a mask. Now, water droplets and everything, you'll probably still get infected even if you're wearing a mask, but it definitely reduces it can't stop it, but it reduces it. Right? So why wouldn't you?
It's like if you don't wear a mask, you might as well just say, why even try? You know, at least try not to get sick with whatever is out there is the way I'm looking at it, you know?
Yeah. And I mean, we still hand sanitize and we do all of those different bits and pieces. But then also, I've got this thing. My kids don't want to wear a mask. They had to wear a mask all the time. One of my kids has glasses. You and I both wear glasses. We know what it's about. It fogs up and everything. And then none of their friends wear masks or anything anymore. So it's a case of, do you want to be ostracized? I'll occasionally still wear a mask when I go to certain places, but for the most part, haven't really worn one.
I have a good answer for that, and this is something really good, a parenting tip that I can pass on to you. I know you're the parent, I'm not, but this will help you, I think. I think what you do is you tell them that if they don't wear a mask, there's a monster underneath their bed that's going to get them. And if you do that, then they will wear a mask. And they can even tell their friends, no, I'm trying to avoid getting killed by the monster that's under my bed. That's the best way to go.
It feels like that setting up a real firm foundation for trust.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, you've already got that, so you go with it. So you're going to test and probably have to cancel your kid's party and, you know.
Yeah, I'm
Because
gonna
even if it's not COVID, there's something that they could get, right? If you're doing the right thing.
Yeah, I mean, my friends already know that he's not well. It doesn't. So it doesn't make a difference. So they know that he has a cold or something like that. So it's really interesting.
You could even probably send out an email to everybody and say he has COVID. Up to you if you want to come, and then probably half of them would show up anyway.
True. Actually,
that's insane.
Most of them would.
That's insane to me.
Yeah, I think it's just different here. So many people have had it, and no, people aren't as worried about it anymore. I don't know why. One of my friends is a nurse. She works in the hospital, and also there's the hospitalizations for it are pretty much non-existent now in this part of the world. I don't know what it is. It might change during winter. I don't know if it's different strains. I don't know what's going on. Is it still...
There's still people dying from it, and we have created a society where a certain amount of people dying is okay in our society. Between the gun violence and the massive pandemic that's happened the last 3 years, we've created a society where we're just conditioned to feel like, oh, it's only 1,000 people a day now that are getting killed. That's okay. Whether you're talking about the disease or slaughter in the classroom because somebody has a gun, there's just an acceptable amount of human life that gets snuffed out every day. So that's okay. We'll just go with that because that is more convenient for everybody and nobody has to worry about stuff, and it's more money for the corporations, and a certain amount of death is okay.
Yeah, I really feel like that's the case for the guns, and we could really make a tangible impact on that. I mean, we get flu vaccines and that kind of thing. But
why is a COVID vaccine different than a flu vaccine if you're not being a paranoid asshole? It's really not. You get the flu vaccine. Why wouldn't you get a COVID vaccine? Protect yourself.
I mean, you definitely can. And you can even get COVID vaccines that aren't the mRNA one.
Oh, I didn't know that.
You absolutely can. So Johnson & Johnson manufactured a COVID vaccine that wasn't the mRNA. And so people who, say, are open to the older technology and will get a flu vaccine, but don't want to use the new technology because they might be skeptical about it, they can still get vaccinated for COVID.
So we've created an entire strain of vaccines for the paranoid, kooky assholes out there.
No, in fact, those vaccines were created for... So the difference between the two vaccines is traditional type vaccines, or the one that was produced by Johnson & Johnson, it can be stored at room temperature. It can be transported all around the world. It's easier. It takes longer to go off. The mRNA vaccines need to be refrigerated. So if you need to vaccinate people en masse in Africa, you can't use those vaccines. But you can use the other. You can use the other ones. So wasn't built for the kooks, built for how can we vaccinate more people in the world.
Okay, well, that's good. She's the smart one. I'm just the court jester asshole. This is the roles that we have on the show. So good that she knows.
But I think it's great for people, right? Because then everyone can have access to it. Some of the challenges we have is accessing certain things. So this is sort of Emily's conspiracy theory hour. But the Johnson & Johnson vaccine was banned for a while. And I blame corporate espionage. But there was a report that it was causing blood clots. But it was causing less blood clots in women than birth control pills. So
okay, it's one of those things where if it's an effect, they have to report it, and then everybody's talking about it, and it gets out of control.
And then they're like, "Oh, quick, take it off the shelves." Right. Meanwhile, back at base camp, millions of women are still using birth control, and
well, it's like one of the side effects of aspirin could be it gives one person in 1 million excessive farts, but they've got to report that. That's why they have the end of those drug commercials where the last 30 seconds is side effects and what you should be aware of, and legally they have to do that, and that's just insane to me. They ought to just be able to say, check the label for all the stuff that could happen. How dumb and ridiculous is that?
Yeah, there's a lot of that type of thing. It is pretty funny when you get into, the process that drug companies have to go through in order to get approved, like get FDA approval, all of those different bits and pieces. There's a really interesting book called Lost Connections by a guy called Johan Hari. For anyone who's ever taken SSRIs, antidepressants and that kind of thing, highly recommend that book and the insight that it gives into how those things were given FDA approval. Did you know that use of SSRIs, especially in the United States, is so prevalent now? It's the number one prescribed type of medication, and that it's so ubiquitous that it's in all of the oceans and all of our drinking water.
Makes sense. And it's big business, I think. When I was having trouble sleeping and the tinnitus and that sort of thing, it was amazing to me how easy it was for me to call my doctor and say, yeah, I've got this going on. You gave me Xanax once 5 years ago and I hated it. Can I get a prescription? He goes, yep, I'll send it right over. And just how easy it is to get all this stuff out there. And I wonder what happens on the doctor's back end, because it's obviously got to be of benefit to them to do that. And I don't know that side of it, but it seems too easy. Like maybe you should work on the root of the issue rather than just treating it with money that feeds into big business,
And it's interesting too, the experience that different members of society have in terms of accessing stuff. I had an experience where I was in excruciating pain and I went to my doctor and I was like, I'm in terrible, terrible pain. And I didn't necessarily want painkillers. I wanted to figure out what was wrong with me.
Right.
And it was a woman, and she literally sat me down and she said, you seem really anxious and really agitated. And I'm trying to determine whether or not you're in pain because you're agitated or if you're agitated because you're in pain. Or anxious, whatever. I was like, fucking let me help you. I know the answer to this. Anyway, she didn't believe me and essentially didn't help me, wouldn't send me to get any imaging done, and basically wanted me to leave with a prescription for sleeping pills.
Oh, my God.
I ended up going on a wait list to go and see a specialist. It took me 6 months to get in to see that person. And then when I finally got the scan that I was looking for, I discovered that I actually had an injury to my hip that requires surgery. And so I was, and still am, literally broken in my hip. And she was questioning whether or not I was a hysterical woman. And Black women have it really bad. They often get the hysterical woman treatment when they go to get stuff. When when you go to get gynecological the gynecological
I don't even know how to say that word. I just know there's stirrups involved. That's all I know.
There are often stirrups and speculums involved. If you get something like an IUD inserted, they do not give women pain medication. Could you imagine going somewhere and having somebody stick something down the eye of your penis and just say, we're not going to give you any pain medication for this. We're just going to put this swizzle stick down your pee hole. But don't worry, it doesn't hurt. Would you believe them? And then when you're saying, ow, this really, really hurts, can I get some pain relief? They go, you're just making it up. It doesn't hurt when you stick things down your dick. Don't be ridiculous.
You might be feeling a little bit of pressure. Oh, that's what you call pressure. I see. That's what's going on there.
You might feel a little bit of pressure.
Right.
Oh, right. It's so funny. These things I'm learning because I'm hearing about this stuff from my friends, and I find it so humorous. Could you imagine people going in and getting, what's the procedure they call when they like get a vasectomy? There you go, getting a vasectomy. And just be like, hey, just so you know, no drugs. No drugs to this. Just
how much of a man are you? Let's see if you can handle this. Here we go. Exactly. We'll do it on the football field.
I'm going to give you a couple of Tylenol and a sack of frozen peas.
Come on, you can do it. And you slap them around.
Come on, Johnny, you got this. It's unfathomable to me. You know, they used to believe that babies didn't feel pain. Okay, so here's another story.
They're not human beings. They're not
human beings. Okay.
What the fuck?
Okay, I shit you not. This is facts. If you get your kids circumcised, okay, now, we investigated this, but ultimately decided not to. So when our sons were born, we went and had a conversation. If anybody is considering, if anybody's pregnant and considering getting their child circumcised, let me walk you through what they fucking do. Because
first off, make sure they're a boy. That's step one. I know that part.
Well, definitely in this country, but female circumcision, aka
Africa.
Mutilation, still a big deal. We can do a whole other show on that. But they take that little boy and they literally strap him down arms and legs to a board, and they get a little bell, a little plastic thing. They put that on the pee-pee and put the skin up, and then without anesthetic, they cut around it while the child is strapped down with no pain relief. And they do that. And when I heard about that, I was like, I can't do that. I can't do that. Here's another thing that people don't know. And I found this out recently as well. My children, at the time, the one who was in question was 8 years old, and he had a rotten tooth. And the dentist said, we need to remove that tooth. I was like, okay. And he didn't want to get a needle. One of my sons is autistic, doesn't want to get a needle. I'm right there with you, buddy. No worries. So we get referred to a pediatric dental surgeon. I'm like, okay, cool. So I go and have the conversation with them about how my child is going to be sedated. So I'm asking a lot of questions, blah, 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 blah. Meanwhile, I could hear a child screaming next door, screaming bloody murder. Yeah. So the doctor's talking to me, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm here so my child will be sedated. Can you please explain to me why that child is screaming like their throat is being cut? And he said, well, it's because the sedation that we give the child is actually a memory inhibitor. It's not actually pain relief. They just won't remember what has happened. I said, so let me get this straight. You're going to give them sleepy non-night juice. They're going to be awake throughout the whole thing. You're going to strap them down to a board. So a second grade child, an 8-year-old child, second or third grade, you're going to strap them down to a board traumatically and yank the tooth out without any pain relief, but they won't remember it. And that's the whole premise of this story. And he's like, essentially, yes, it sounds bad when you say it like that.
It sounds bad when you're logical.
Okay. All right, cool. And I just thanked the good man for his time and got the fuck out of there. Shortcut to today, my son still has that tooth in his head. I went and got another medical opinion. Turns out he didn't actually need to have the tooth removed because it's a baby tooth and it's just about to fall out anyway. It was just a money grab. But for anybody who is referred to one of those dentists, make sure you ask that question as well around.
Yeah, and just know that apparently in this world there is Men in Black medicine. It's the Men in Black thing where you do something and just make them forget the thing and then everything will be okay.
I'm still shocked at it. Isn't it shocking to you? And I know I understand that part of this is my son's problem. He could have the pain relief if he allowed them to put a needle inside of his mouth. But because he won't allow that, the solution is we'll just strap them down and give him brain erasing medicine.
Right. That doesn't seem like a good way to go. And I will go back to the circumcision thing.
Oh.
That whole process seems unbelievably barbaric to me.
Mm-hmm.
And it comes, I think, from deep religious stuff. And we've decided that that needs to be done originally because of religious stuff. And it seems like you're altering a natural thing that is supposed to be there. And why are you doing that? Especially when you're doing it in such a horrible, traumatizing way. And it seems like maybe that's not the way things are supposed to go. It seems like that skin is supposed to be there. And why are you doing it that way? And maybe that's the thought process that we should have. Like, okay, if we're going to be real human beings and be natural, maybe we don't even need to do that. It's just weird. And I get that now, in addition to our paranoid entitled society, we have a society that thinks a penis is supposed to look a certain way. And if it doesn't, it looks weird. But that's also the way we're born, and that's also our natural state. Maybe we should get our head around that, you know?
Yeah, it is. Inadvertently, we've come full circle, Stu, and we've added another thing to the list. Shit that we still do that's rooted in tradition, where we've lost sight of why we originally did it. I present to you male circumcision. But yes, I think that is really true. It does have roots in ancient times, at least in biblical times. I think we can easily draw some parallels there. But even in some other ancient cultures, I think people surmise that it was a test of bravery and endurance and that kind of thing, and a coming of age ritual, at which point just leave the babies alone. I mean, I can understand the moil is still employed in the Jewish religion for those playing at home. But yeah, I can't.
And if it's a rite of passage, I guess that would have been done when they were closer to being an adult, like in their teen years. So that would be even worse. And then maybe over the years, it's gotten down to, well, they all need to be that way, so we'll just do it when they're young. And I would have to think that aside from the trauma of doing it as you're doing it, maybe that causes deep psychological problems. And I'm expanding on this in kind of an assumptive way. I don't know that I'm right, but maybe that's why we have male aggression in our society in such a big way. Sure, there's hormones and stuff, but maybe if you're traumatized in that way as a very small baby, maybe that makes you more aggressive as an adult. I don't know. Let's do some studies. I don't mean a society, you and me. Let's do some studies.
Yeah, okay. You first. You get the clipboard out, and I think the opening line should be, "Excuse me, sir, do you have 2 minutes to talk to me about your penis?"
Door to door, and I'll wear a white shirt and black pants.
Yeah.
Because that'll get me in. Then they'll talk to me.
Exactly. And then the first question should be, are you circumcised? And if the answer is no, the follow-up question would be, would you like to be?
Because then we'll follow up in a year.
Yeah, exactly. And then we should all just, not even a year, we should offer to do it right there and then just pull out a white shroud and just say, welcome to your bris. And then we'll just take it off. No, not the shroud, the foreskin.
Oh, I know what you meant. Oh, we got it.
And now I've got visuals in my head. Yeah. My eldest son picked up a Nerf bullet, and it was missing the little hard tip at the end. And he's like, a blank.
Pretty good.
That's pretty good, right?
Yeah.
And so
your
now
kid is just clever and creative.
They are funny people.
All right. Well, there's a diversion in conversation we never expected. God, I like those.
I mean, it's always a short walk from the studio to the gutter on this show.
Well, that wasn't gutter. That was high thought right there. That was...
You're right. It was.
We're analyzing society and penises.
It was nuanced sidewalk. It's kind of gutter adjacent.
If we were talking like this, we could put it on NPR.
That's so true. We could. Very highbrow, deep thoughts.
Well, here's the thing that I talked about a show or two ago. I don't know. I can't keep track because we've taped so many.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to be sure and pay this off. Time to talk about Flash Shelton, Vigilante Landlord. This is a news story from a couple weeks ago. And really, the story's pretty good, but it's the fact that his name is Flash Shelton.
Flash
Shelton is a handyman who once removed squatters from his mother's home. Shelton is now using his experience to help others get squatters out of other homes. Flash Shelton, man on the right-hand side of the screen, joins us now.
First, the host is so proud. Flash Shelton, man on the right side of the screen. Here we go. We're talking to you.
Oh, Flash, would you tell us your personal story? How did you get the squatters out of your mother's house?
Well, squatters took over my mom's house after my dad passed away. We were trying to sell the home. I called local law enforcement, and as soon as they saw that there was furniture in the house, they said that I had a squatter situation and they had basically no jurisdiction and they couldn't do anything. So I dissected the laws over a weekend. I basically figured out that until there's civil action, the squatters didn't have any rights. So if I could switch places with them, become the squatter myself, I would assume those squatter rights.
This is the kind of world that we live in where penises are getting cut and people can just come in your house and become squatters and live there. We have this kind of thing going on. It's just insane to me. You own your home, but people can say they live there. What the hell?
And what state is this in?
This is, it's somewhere here in the U.S. We'll see if it tells us more, but let's get back to it.
It's somewhere in the U.S. for sure, but not in the South.
I don't know. And just know that Flash Shelton looks exactly what you would think he looks like. Kind of a burly man, kind of a tough man with a goatee. He's not taking any shit. He's Flash Shelton, Vigilante Landlord.
Mm.
And just in case they had a fake lease, like I hear some do, I had my mom write me up a lease. We got it notarized. I packed up my Jeep, drove up there, and paced out the joint around 4 a.m. I waited about 8:30 in the morning. 3 cars pulled out of the driveway, and
Then he just moved in.
Made entrance to the house. I put up cameras, waited for them to come back, and they didn't have a lease, so that never came into play. But when they came back, I just laid it out for them, told them that it was all locked up, cameras, and the only way they would get back in the house is if they broke in on camera, and I would prosecute. And I told them they had a day to get their stuff out, or the furniture was not theirs anymore.
But you couldn't have gotten them out unless they had left in their 3 cars in the morning. You couldn't bang on the door, walk in, and tell her to get out. You couldn't do that, could you?
No, the law would prevent me from physically removing them. However, being that I wasn't the homeowner, I had more rights. As a tenant, I would actually have more rights than them. So
that's insane to me. You're not the homeowner, you're a tenant, so you can kick them out, but the homeowner can't. This is the world in which we live. And I wonder if he had gotten physical, would the cops just show up and go, whatever, we're going to look the other way on this. This is such insanity. Because they're probably strung out meth heads or something, and that's obviously easily spottable,
And again, part of me really wants to know what state this is. And let's drill down on something that he did. And I think this is funny because before I do that, though, do you have more of this story to play? Am I going to be giving things away if I dive into what he actually did?
You can give away what you're going to give away. We got about another minute, but go with what you got.
So he started offering, I love this guy, lunatic. You also negated to mention that in lots of his photos, he's wearing his hat backwards, which for any man over the age of 50, of which this man obviously is, bold move. Anyway, we're not the fashion police.
Wait, you have pictures of Flash Shelton up there?
Yeah, on my phone.
Okay. Well, he's not wearing a hat in my pictures, just to be clear. Well, he's just Flash Shelton badass being interviewed in my pictures. So
yeah, so he's classed himself up for the television interview. Yeah. So when he went on to offer his services to others, he fucks with their heads. So he talked about installing cameras, right? He touched upon that. But when you double click on that, what he has done for his the other people he's providing services to is he goes inside and he installs Ring cameras inside the house in every room of the house. And then when they come back, he tells them that they're on a reality TV show.
Really?
Yes, really.
See, that's not in the story at all. That's pretty great.
It's pretty great, right? And so he's also certified in de-escalation. So he's almost like a hostage negotiator. This guy has actual certification and skills in mindfuckery. So
I wonder if this is his business, because he started a business doing that.
This is now his business, and this is what he does. He's made your business his business, and he's going to protect your business with cameras and mindfuckery. So he goes in there, installs Ring cameras everywhere, and then convinces people that they're on a reality TV show and that by being in the house, they're consenting to this absolute lunacy, and they can't get out of there fast enough.
Wow. Yeah, they talk about him now starting a business doing this, and that must be, like on his website that you're looking up, that kind of thing?
I just did
That's pretty great.
An internet search and read a couple of articles about it, but I thought that is genius.
That's really great.
So
yeah,
good.
That must have been the point that he came to. He learned what he learned through his own experience here, and now he's helping others. And he answers the phone, "Hello, Flash Shelton, can I help you?" And then people say, "Oh, there's squatters," and then he works it all out because he's a badass, I guess.
I wonder if he drives around in a branded van like a pest control guy.
With people. Little people traps. There's traps and there's people flailing around in it.
Like squatter crusher. I want to know, expel your squatters with Flash Sheldon, squatter spotter. I mean, I don't know what he does, but it is
I'm Flash
mind-boggling.
Shelton. If we don't get him out, you don't pay.
Oh.
And then I wondered too, okay, he's a professional, obviously. If you were trying to get somebody out of your house that was squatting, what would you do to try to get them out? Like, my thought is a lot of stuff would need to be pooed on. There would be a lot of pooing going on to make it really uncomfortable. And though you wouldn't want to do that, because ultimately it's your house, if that's what it takes, there would be that, you know?
I've got a couple of options. I haven't thought this through.
Yeah.
But one of the first things that comes to mind is any sort of sulfur-based aerosol. Those back in the 90s, they were very popular at my local cinema. They were the fart things. They're like a
fart spray.
It's like fart spray, but they were a sachet that worked like an instant hot pack. So they had powder in it, and then you would bust water inside it, and then it would just emit the most foulest of odors. And I just imagine just like some kind of commando raid, just putting all of that in the HVAC. And as people came out vomiting on themselves.
That's got to be an Australian thing. I don't
locks.
think we have the smelly sulfur packets in our country.
Oh,
I don't think
I think you can get fart sprayed here, though.
Yeah. Probably you have a need for them to get rid of the kangaroos or something, I'm thinking.
Yeah, I mean, that and weapons. So, yep, that was one potential option. Another one, I think, would be noise and lights. So, or just messing generally with the electrical system. So, turning the power off and then turning it back on again, turning it off, blasting just the brightest lights possible through every single window, doing the Exorcist style low rumble of uneasiness, just playing that just constantly coming out of the roof or something like that.
You could wire the lights inside so that just in the middle of the night at 3 a.m., the bright lights would turn on all of a sudden. That's really good.
Yeah, so something like that. Make them think that it's haunted is another thing. Just weird stuff like that. I mean, I get pretty creative with it, I think.
Yeah, the only other thing I had was I would play the weirdest Kate Bush music really loud constantly. Like, oh, okay, you're going to squat in my house? Well, here's Kate Bush sat in your lap over and over again at high volume. I enjoy it, but I get not a lot of people do. And to a meth head, Kate Bush sat in your lap, that would have to be a problem. I think that would probably make them just insane, and that might do it right there.
Yeah, or play things like the Teletubbies theme song on repeat.
Barney. Some Barney.
Yeah, anything. I don't know. It's a conundrum, to be sure. I think that the putting the cameras in is so genius that it's hard to top. But you do have to gain entry to the house, and so how can you get people out? And I've only come up with non-lethal and non-dangerous ways. I mean, if we were opening the door to, it depends on how crazy I was feeling and what kind of insurance I had. But depending on how focused I was on winning, I think I'd go all the way to arson. I'd burn the whole fucking place down just to win. But that's the kind of person. If that's what it takes, but that's the kind of person I am. I'm like, I will win at all costs when it comes to things like that.
I'm with you because I get that pissed off when Carl's Jr. F's me over. So when it comes down to my own property, I had a whole other story I could have gone with this week, but I've done that too much. I'm not going to keep doing it. But just as an example, yes, I'm that way too.
I love that you guys have Carl's Jr.
And it's Hardee's.
We have Hardee's.
Yeah.
We have Hardee's.
Hardee's. Same company, different name. It's weird.
Hardy har har. Yeah, I don't know why, but I wish I did. I want to know. I know why in Australia. Do you know what Burger King is called in Australia?
Wallaby. Burger Wallaby.
Hungry Jacks.
Hungry Jacks.
Yeah.
Well, that's very traditional. It makes you think of Australia when you think Hungry Jacks.
It really does.
It's Hungry Jack. Yeah. Do they have it your way there? Is it have it your way at the Hungry Jacks?
I mean, it might be, but I've never heard that. It's in the slogan that I remember is the burgers are better at Hungry Jacks.
Yeah. Simple and to the point.
Yes.
All right, let's wrap up. Flash, Shelton, Vigilante, Landlord.
If they were there, then I would have just entered the home with a lease in hand. I would have just shown them the lease. I would have walked past them and said, I don't know what you're doing, but I'm moving in. This is my house now. And I probably would have just done anything and everything I could to make it miserable for them so that they left on their own.
Are you running a service? Are you running a service now, helping other people get squatters out?
Yeah, so more importantly to that is I'm trying to change the laws. That's my number one focus. So in helping others right now, since, I feel bad I can't help everyone, but if we can change the squatter laws, I feel like that's the way I can help everyone.
Yeah.
So every time I help someone, whether it's I do Zoom consultations, I ask people to make a donation to the cause.
Okay.
And when I can physically go out and help them. Yes, it is something I am doing to help people now, as many as I personally possibly can.
Well, Flash, Shelton, we think you're doing the right thing. You get a lot of support from me, and that's a fact. Flash, thanks for being on the show. Good luck to you, man. Good luck to you. Thank you.
All right. Very good. Very good. So the only other thing I have in that is, do you think Flash is his real name? Did somebody look at a baby and say, I'm going to name that baby Flash?
There was a time where I would have said, no way is that his real name. And because he's a man of a certain age, I'm going to go out on a limb and say, I don't actually think that is his real name, but I will say that definitely there are many children now with that as a name.
You got Apple and all those stupid, weird names.
Oh, there are so many insane names, and I would like to follow this up on the next show. I'm going to send you a TikTok, and it is this guy, I've got to get his name right, but he has this hilarious post of, is this a name that I just made up, or is it a 2023 college football star?
Named Flash Shelton. It sounds like a football star, that name. So, yeah, that's a thing we can do.
Yeah.
It won't be in recent shows because we already pre-taped those. You're going back to your homeland for a while. You got a gay wedding to plan, and you're visiting with people, and you got all that worked out. You seem sane, so I think things are going good.
Well, I mean, they're definitely going. The wedding is in 9 days, and it's going to be okay. It's going to be great.
How bad could you screw it up? You've planned and you've done stuff. It can't be that bad.
No, and at the end of the day, whatever is going to happen is going to happen. The most important thing is that we're all going to be together. We're there to celebrate love. Two people who love each other are going to get married. And we definitely have alcohol because it's already been delivered. So that's it. Even if the food doesn't happen, even if it rains, everyone will be so drunk. It will be, good times will be had.
When you're planning, that really is the important part. You've got the focus down there, right? Even if things go to shit, people will be drunk and it won't matter. So good for you. Focus on the important.
This is an Australian wedding, after all.
Well, crikey.
Crikey, Struth. Stone the crows. Yeah.
So before we leave, I have this meme to share with you. We were talking about one time how you wanted somebody to do something at your wedding, fly over with a big banner, and I saw this meme, and I thought of you, and I thought this
at my
was
funeral
really fun.
that said, "Cry harder, I'm watching." Yeah.
Yeah, very cool. Saw this meme, and I thought of you, and it's, after my funeral, I want one of my friends to take my phone and text everyone, "Thanks for coming." I thought that was very clever and very creative.
Yep, perfect. Definitely, I'm going to put that on my wish list.
You could do both those ththings. You have the flyover, and then you have that.
Yeah, and then of course there's,
and
and I'll have the thank you card that has, what do they call the Ouija board or an Ujai board that says, "Let's keep in touch."
It's called Ouija, but I say Ujai because it's fun.
Okay, Ouija board. It just says, let's stay in touch. I heard something before we finished the show to do with animals. And again, my kids, funny people. But one of them came up to me and said this, and I've been saving it for you. How are unicorns fake, but giraffes are real? Because what's more believable, a horse with a horn or a leopard moose camel with a 40-foot neck?
Leopard moose camel's the best part of that.
It is the best part of that. Leopard moose camel with a 40-foot neck.
That almost sounds like a song. The moose camel with the 40-foot neck. Alrighty. Well, you have a good trip. Be safe. Enjoy yourself. Have fun. Shows are coming up, and everybody have a good week. Just decided every week now I'm just going to say everybody have a good week, because though it's not creative, it signifies the end of the show. And I really do, deep within my heart, want everyone to have a good week.
Me too. And I'm still going to end with, have the day you deserve.
So, even better. See ya.
Bye.
Got a comment? Question? Go ahead. Contact us. Our email is show@totalbabble.com. Instagram, Total Babble, or Facebook.com/Total Babble. The Total Babble Podcast.